So, does anyone else read the Order of Saint Dumas like you're insulting the intelligence of a donkey? Yo, what's up, everyone? My name is Unbuckled Cape, and this is my show, Unbuckled Comics. Today, we have a little bit different of an episode for you. Last week, we just did an episode completely off of what you should be pulling in May because May is going to be such a huge month for new issues, new number ones, one shots, all kinds of comics. So this week, you are just getting my review of Sword of Azrael, the 2022 miniseries. Came out last year. And that's going to be all for this week. And then you'll get to hear me again next week. And next week, I have my first sidekick episode. We're going to be joined by E. Period. And he and I are going to be reviewing the whole Court of Owl saga from the Batman New 52. Really excited for you guys to hear that episode. But before we get there, and before we talk about Sword of Azrael, we are going to just get my plugs in here real quick. I am on Facebook and Instagram, both of which are under the title of, let me think, what is that? Unbuckled Comics. So if you go over to Facebook and Instagram and look up Unbuckled Comics, hit me a like and a follow and whatever, and you can also follow me on whatever platform you're listening to this on, and that is all greatly appreciated. And, you can DM me there, ask me questions, give me episode comments. Please ask to have me put you in our Discord. It's a fun place. We have a couple of new channels that just went up. One where we are following one of our community members through his journey. He started with the first Marvel comic, and he is working his whole way through the Marvel history. And then we just added one where we share interesting panels. I like dropping panels, like comic panels, like pages from comics. I like dropping pages that I'm reading of importance from comics that I am currently reading for the show. And we just have a lot of fun over there. So follow me on social media and hit me up there. And I'm going to quit talking intro stuff, and we're going to get into that oh so good review of Sword of Azrael. All right, 7 issues to work through here, so let's get rolling. And yes, I did say 7 because Sword of Azrael had a one-shot comic that kind of led into it. It was the Sword of Azrael, Dark Night of the Soul. But before we get to all that, as always, got a little bit of backstory, maybe? In case you don't know, Azrael is a character that popped up in Batman comic. It was Batman Sword of Azrael, and he is most known for becoming Batman after the Nightfall, which is when Bane breaks Batman's bat, and then Azrael steps in, and it does not go well. He gets his abilities, we'll call it, from the Order of Saint. I always say Dumas. It's Dumas. And actually, the first time I ever saw Azrael was in Lego Batman. The very first one, there was a kind of like a mini game thing where you went around and you just found characters hidden in each level, and Azrael was one of them. And then if you are a Arkham City player, he was also in that. So even though I don't think he's a very popular character, you've probably seen him around. He was also in the No Man's Land arc. He showed up in there a little bit as well. So our creators was Dan Walters, currently working on Cowboy Bebop. Some of you anime fans recognize that name. Superman Red and Blue, the current Batman and Detective Comics, and also the current Judge Dredd runs. And then we have Nicola, oh boy, Cizmesva. I'm not even going to attempt it. Batman Urban Legends, the current Flash, the current Tim Drake, and Task Force Z. And then we have Marissa Louise, Escape from New York. Again, that was a movie. RoboCop, that was a movie. Harley Quinn, the animated series. Black Manta. Fairyland, which I've been seeing a lot of lately, but I have no idea what it is and don't really have an interest in it. And then Godzilla in Hell. Uh, the art style is, I don't know, it kind of looks like the current art style that you see a lot, and it works. It works well. It just kind of seems unmemorable and a little bit dark. Uh, I don't know, 6 out of 10, I guess. Just it didn't wow me. So moving on to each individual comic, Sword of Azrael, Dark Knight of the Soul. The cover art is pretty cool in this one. We have Azrael in the front with his sword. There is a reflection of someone in the sword, and then behind him there is Batman, and then a bad guy named Bullet Tooth. I like this cover. Nothing wrong with it. So the plot starts out as John Paul Valley, or yeah, Jean Paul Valley. Sorry about that. By the way, Jean Paul Valley is Azrael. He returns to Gotham, and I already lost myself in my notes. So he returns to Gotham, and he's like chasing down some criminals, and he is a vigilante at this point. He's not quite on that anti-hero side like he was back in when he was being Batman back in the Night Quest. Was it Night Quest? Yeah, it was Nightfall, Night Quest, Night Rise. So back in the Night Quest, he was more of an anti-hero. This time he is just a vigilante. After running down these criminals, Batman confronts him on killing. He thinks that Azrael is beheading people with a giant battle axe, and Valley is trying to convince Batman that it's not him, and Batman kind of gives him a warning that he will be taken out if have to. Then we see him in a hospital working as a bedside nurse for hospice care, and he's talking to a man about faith, and we kind of learn that Valley is really embedded in his faith. He went through this whole thing with the Order of Saint Dumas, and they make him believe that he is a archangel, that he is the avenging angel Azrael, and he acts as the right hand of God. And for Valley, instead of turning against religion, he dives deeper into religion to try and help control the angel Azrael. So he ends up believing that he sees a zombie and that it is a sign of the second coming. And throughout all this, we get some backstory on him, and we learn that Azrael was actually created by the Templars. Kind of think Assassin's Creed, the Assassins versus the Templars, and that the Templars created him to fight the Assassins, which is actually the very early version of the League of Shadows, run by Ra's al Ghul. And up until this point, Jean Paul Valley had no idea that the Templars even existed. I think he kind of knew that they created them, but at the end he runs into this character that reveals to him that they are both of the same, not order, that they were both created by the Templars and have the same common goal, or at least she tries to convince him. Overall, for a one-shot comic, typically one-shot comics you can read and kind of get the whole story beginning to end. You don't need anything else. The end of this one is pretty open-ended. You almost have to turn around and go right into the Sword of Azrael 6 series and that's what I did. So, Sword of Azrael #1. This is my favorite cover out of the bunch. It is Azrael and like his cape, and I guess they're like tassel type things that go over top of his armor. There's like fire coming out from behind him, and then his sword is on fire, which he uses a flaming sword. Uh, Valley lives in isolation. After the whole events at Gotham, he goes to live in isolation in a monastery to learn how to control uh, the Azrael program. He uses stories of the saints to drown out Azrael's thirst for blood, basically, and the system doesn't see it that way. The system sees it as he has a righteous duty that he needs to fulfill, but Valley is tired of like the all the killing that's involved with it, and not being in control of himself. While out on this monastery, a woman appears on the island, and she's helpless and is kind of being hunted. And of course, being at a monastery, they take her in and try to help her, and she tells Valley and the other monks that she hears the voice of God, and God told her to like take her there and look for Valley himself, and he can help her. So now here's a woman that she kind of has like an understanding of what he's going through, so there's a soft spot, and it kind of causes him to let down his guard a little bit. And we learn that he is being hunted by Vengeance, who is the daughter of Bane. So kind of made me pretty happy that they decided to put the daughter of Bane in this, because the whole Nightfall, Night Quest deal. After Bane broke Batman's back, Valley becomes Batman, and then breaks Bane as well. So and this book ends with all the monks being slaughtered, but I'm not going to tell you how. I'm going to keep this as absolutely spoiler free as possible, and I'm going to be able to do a pretty good job of that if I stay on my notes. That is. Issue 1 I actually really enjoyed, even though it is light on the action. The inner turmoil between Valley and Azrael, the system, is really, really interesting. And we're going to get into a lot more of that as we move on. Issue #2, the cover's just okay. We have Vengeance on the cover, and her name's Poor Fellow. She is the character that um, is in the first issue, the one shot issue, and it appears that they're both fighting Azrael. It's an okay cover, and again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not like, eventually I plan on having comic holders up on the wall behind me here where I record, and I'm gonna rotate comics out. It's probably one that's never gonna make it on a wall. That's probably my best way to put it. Issue #1 of this is going to be on the wall quite a bit. This one I don't ever see making it on the wall. So it's an okay cover. And the issue itself, it's really more of the same, but in a good way. We really get to dive into the moral conflict of Valley, and it really is hard to read this and not kind of equate it to Spider-Man, well, Spider-Man Venom. I don't know why I keep saying Spider-Man. I guess Spider-Man in the black suit when that started, but really the Venom, where you don't know how much control the Azrael system has over Valley. And with this, he can't make judgment calls without second guessing himself. And he has a temper, and he keeps repeating the fates of saints of past, and like how they've all had like these horrific deaths. And then, of course, we get the tie into the one shot in this one. Like I said, Poor Fellow is on the cover, so you knew that this is where the tie-in was going to come. as well as more details on how Azrael, the system, works, which is why I ended up really liking this issue a lot, is because it might have been explained in other books, but nothing I've ever read really gets into this much depth on how Azrael, the system, works. So it's a lot of backstory. It's not necessarily an origin story for Valley, but it is a lot of backstory and character building, which I really like. So moving on to issue number 3, the cover is very dark. It's simple, but I do like it more than issue number 2. And then after I read it, I liked it even more because after you read it, you understand what's going on in the cover. It makes it way better. Up to this point, this is easily the best issue so far. I love how Valley is explored in every page until he and Azrael are on the same track. We get to see a lot of him going inside his mind and being able to take himself into the depths of his mind to confront the Archangel Azrael. I say that in quotation marks because it is more or less a system that believes it's an angel. And we kind of get to that later in this series. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Um, and there is a lot of backstory where we're going back to the early Templars and how the Order of Saint Dumas branches out on its own. And there is a early cave painting shown, and I love that panel and the nods to other DC characters and mythos and things like that. It is so cool. I love the little bit of detail and backstory that they give us in this one. And the we get a monster in this, and it really is unexpected. I didn't see it coming, but it's kind of epic. I really dig that they threw this in here out of nowhere. And like I said, I'm not gonna give you much detail on it because I want you to. I really do want you to go at the end of this and pick up, just pick up the trade. You don't have to go search for each individual issue, and check it out and read it, and you'll like this part. And at the end of 3, we're halfway through the six issue limited series, and I'm still actually really guessing which way this is gonna go. They've deconstructed the character that is Jean Paul Valley and showed us a lot of in depth on the system of Azrael, and at this point they could take him and shove him back into that um oh boy, help me out, back into like the anti-hero steps. But over the years when he is being used, he's taken more to that hero. He's trying to like not use killing and over violence, and then like he kind of has some backlash, some withdrawal symptoms, and goes backwards. Almost again, I compare him to Venom, almost exactly how Venom is. And then the story also leaves room for you to think that, oh, maybe this is the turning point where he will just be a vigilante and actually be able to properly join, the Bat family, or have his own maybe angel team. I don't know. They don't actually go that far in this, but you get the point. I don't know where this story is going. So the cover of 4, excuse me, let me grab a drink. Thank you for your patience. So the cover of 4, like I had all 6 issues. I read the first 2 and then decided I was going to wait till I had all of them because I was pretty excited about it and I didn't want to have to read a little bit and then wait and then read a little bit. And anyway, the cover of 4 was really confusing to me until I read issue number 3. And after reading number 3 and looking at the cover of 4, man, is it a lot cooler. Still not my favorite cover. Probably my second favorite cover, second or third. It's real close to being tied or slightly ahead with number 3. So In number 4, this is where I really realized this isn't so much just a hey, let's write a story for Azrael. This is a rebuilding of the character. Like I said earlier, they're really tearing him down and building him up, and this is the issue that really plays that whole thing out for us. And it's going to change Valley and Azrael forever. And I love the direction that it goes. Through the backstory and imminent doom throughout this whole issue, they're never going to be the same. I also grew to really appreciate the art more in this issue. Earlier, I rated it at a 6 out of 10. I'm willing to bump that up to a 7 out of 10 because the action panels are really cool. It's in a, like, instead of showing like one punch thrown, kind of like the whole way around Azrael, there's like little blips of punches. It's kind of hard to describe, especially if you're like me and you are not an artist. Uh, but it's cool. It makes the action, it draws you into the action, makes it seem a lot more fast paced, which helps the pacing of the overall story because there is a lot of like downtime where Valley is inside his own head and it's just him and his inner turmoil, which could be boring, but personally I'm invested in it. And then when you get back out and you get to the action's really, really cool and drawn out really, really well. Um, with and again, because of what happens in this one, I'm not going to give you a whole lot to go off of. But with 2 issues left, there's even more questions than answers, and I couldn't wait to pick up issue number 5. Issue number 5 is the cover of it's okay. It makes sense, but I just feel lukewarm towards it, and I'm not even going to explain what's on it because that will kind of give some stuff away. Um, I'm to stay vague. I'm going to say another angel is made. As you read, you'll understand what's going on. And Valley is confronted and attacked in the monastery that he was staying at in the beginning on issue 1. Um, the main point is that the Azrael system feels itself is a lie and refuses to come out, which I kind of hinted at earlier that the system itself is just that. It's a system that believes it is an angel from heaven, and it kind of figures out that it's not, which isn't much of a spoiler. And by the end, it gains a new purpose, and that's again, that is all I'm saying about issue number 5 because issue number 5 really sets up a lot of the concluding for number 4. And again, I'm going to reiterate that reading issue number 5, I couldn't help but sitting there going, wow, I swear I've read this in a Venom book somewhere with Eddie Brock. And actually, I think it was last, again, I record these kind of out of order. So I just have a backlog built up that I can release to you. But the episode of Unbuckled Comics that you're going to hear before this one is Vengeance of Venom, and then there is a Trial of Venom, and in that one they think that the Venom symbiote is dead, and they put him on trial, and the whole thing is Eddie Brock evil without the Venom symbiote? And there's not a question of is Valley evil without the Azrael system, but it's how much of Valley is being controlled by the system up to this point. What did he do on his own? What didn't he do on his own? Um, really, really cool stuff. And for a 6 issue series, quite the undertaking. So, issue number 6, the cover's okay. I really, really like the contrasting colors in it. The golds, the reds, and then the dark background. The colors in it are great, but what's going on in the cover itself is okay, I guess. In the last issue, Azrael rushes to stop the Templars, and that's kind of how it feels rushed. The 5 issue buildup was great, but this end wasn't nearly as good. And it definitely ends the right way with, Azrael understanding himself and the system better. Um, you know, he's able to get control of the system's blind anger. He's able to goad his enemies into a final mistake while allowing his morals to stay intact. But I just felt like the final confrontation could have been bigger. And I think I even kind of said this when we went over the new Fantastic Four, the one with Wolverine, Spider Man, Joe Fixit, and who was the fourth in that one? Wolverine, Spider Man, Joe Fixit. Oh my. I should probably take notes on this stuff before I actually sit down and, you know, before I sit down. I do bullet points. This is the problem. And then I kind of ramble off on my own and then I get lost and I'm stalling right now because I'm flipping back to the Fantastic Four notes so I can figure out who that last person was that's driving me nuts. Oh, it was Ghost Rider. Yeah, that's right, Ghost Rider. It's a good thing no one pays me to do this. Anyway, I kind of said the same thing with the new Fantastic Four. The build up and everything was really good, and then that last issue just kind of fell a little flat. It will be okay if they continue to put out Sword of Azrael series, whether they make it a series or do another limited series like a season 2 type deal. I'll be okay with it because they really build up this character, and the end product felt a little bit too much like a character development continuation than a conclusion. And it's not that it was bad. Again, it was just the build up was so cool, and then the end just kind of felt like, well, yeah, of course that's how it's gonna end. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't any. I don't want to say there wasn't any twist, but there wasn't any like major punchline type deal. You get what I'm saying? Um, So my final thoughts on the overall 6 issue plus the one shot is I really do want more Azrael. This 6 issue, like I said a couple of times now, has kind of been rewritten for him to be a hero, not so much an anti-hero. And I'm here for him to continue to have these inner moral conflicts, much like the Venom. Um, I overall, this is an 8 out of 10 story, and I know maybe I got to find something different to do when I'm ranking these or rating these, I guess, because I really stick somewhere between that 9 to 7 range, and this is just another one that hits that range. But um, truth be told, this little series here it tickled me in the right spots, and I really did like it, but it wasn't perfect, and the reason it wasn't perfect was because of the way it ended. Um, to talk about the character arcs a little bit more, um, again, Azrael is a system embedded into uh, Jean Paul Valley's mind. He really just works off of righteous fury. He thinks that he's doing the act of God, and he kind of acts as the judge, jury, executioner, and he's just always angry. And, towards the end, we learn that that system is indeed very broken. And then Valley himself, this is, again, a really reintroduction for him. He thinks the avenging angel of God lives in his head. I've mentioned it multiple times about it sort of has a Venom type moral, and he uses that lethal justice with the twisted mind and morals, and he tries to keep it at bay by using faith. That's the big difference. Where Venom just kind of accepts what it is, Valley really tries to keep it at bay because he doesn't want to be that. He really wants to be a good, righteous man. So, here he thinks that there is an angel living inside his head, but yet he's trying to keep the angel inside his head because he wants to be a righteous man. So I guess really from the beginning he should have knew that there was something major up, something up, something majorly up. English is hard. he also has so much internal turmoil. He doesn't know truth from lie most of the time or how to make decisions. He eventually does learn who he is without Azrael, and more importantly, what he can become with Azrael, which is the main focus of that last issue. And again, that's why I wish so much that they are going to continue this. We really get to see a fall rise throughout these 6 issues, which again is a lot to undertake. Um, but they did it, and I think they did it really well. So that's all I have for this episode, guys. As always, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure you hit those follow buttons, and we will talk to you next time. Later.